Thank you for taking the time to watch my video. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please click thumbs up, as that will help grow my channel. If you'd like to subscribe, I'd appreciate that as well. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave those and I will respond. Again, thank you. So this week we're going to do something a little different. Now, thinking back, I realize it seems like every week I do a video, I start off by saying I'm going to do something different. Well, this week I'm going to do something a little different. So, as you may know, if you've been following my channel, I have a new toy. I have a laser engraver. And this week we're going to do a project that's strictly on the laser engraver. So, for those that don't have a laser engraver, this may be more information than what you're interested in. But with that being said, here on my screen is the project that I want to do this week. Friends of ours are getting married, so I have a Slate Cheese Board or charcuterie board, and I want to engrave it with their name and their date of their wedding, which is coming right up. So how do I do this? I'm going to go ahead now. I've got this saved, but I'm going to go ahead and do a blank screen. Go ahead and save that just in case. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a blank screen. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add the text that I had there. Now, this is lightburn software. It's software that I downloaded off the internet. I have the paid version, and it allows me to create the graphics that are then in turn sent to my laser engraver to be engraved. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time in detail in exactly how to use lightburn. It is fairly intuitive, and there are a lot of resources available on the internet. But it is fairly simple to use. For example, here I just want to create some text, so I click on that, come over here to my board, and I can just start typing. So I'm going to do that. Now, I typically, what I would do is do them separately as opposed to entering, and making it all one text. This way, if I want to do something different with the different layers, I can do that. For example, if I want the to be smaller than this, their last name, McLennan, I can do that. Whereas if I just make it all one text and just type the, enter, and McLennan, then I'm stuck. They're going to want to move together. So I'm going to go ahead now and add a third one, which is the date. 14, and I did 01/23. And even if that's not the correct date, that's fine for now. So there I go. I've got the start of what I want. That's the information. Now, I can click on these. If I come up to my selection tool, I can click on these, and I can move them around and position them where I want. And I can also resize them as well. So to resize them, I just go to this box, and I can drag it and stretch it in and make it whatever size I want. I'm just showing you here how I've done it, so it may not be exactly the way that I've done the other one. The other thing I can do is when I go to add text, now I just used the default font here, but I can change the text, and I did on the other one. I used a different font, but you can see here there's a great list of fonts available. So you can just pick the font you want and enter that information. The next thing I want to do, and what I did in the actual board that I'm going to present, is I put a box around it. So I'm going to go ahead now. You see over here I've got the shapes option, so I'm going to click on the box. And at this point I'm just going to drag a box around what I want. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different on this one. You'll notice here I wanted the box to actually pass through the date. But I don't want the line to actually go through, so I actually want to delete the section of line from here, from the start of this text to the end of the text. So the first thing I want to do here is I want to edit this line, and I want to delete a portion of this line that is passing through the date. Now, Lightburn does not allow you to just click on this line and make edits to it. The first thing you have to do is select that line and then right click, and you have to say convert to path. And then once you've converted that line to path, then you can go into this node mode. And you see here now, these are the nodes that exist for the square. And I could drag these around and I could edit those nodes. I actually want to insert a new node right here at this point. So I'm just going to click on that and say insert. And that's inserted a node right there. I'm going to come over here on this line and I'm going to hit I again, which inserts another node. Now I have 2 additional nodes on this square. So once I'm in node mode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to this line right here, which I want to trim. So between these 2 points, I want to get rid of this line. So I'm going to hover over it. You can see my cursor there. And then I'm going to hit T for trim. Let's take a look at that and see what that looks like. I guess what I need to do is just drag that back till that meets that node, and then do the same thing here. And I'll drag that back till it meets that node. Let's zoom in a little bit closer to see if that looks like what we want. And I can always adjust it. If I need to. So I'm going to just zoom in on that. That's pretty close. You can see there now how I've done that. So I've gotten the line to stop here in the date so that the date is overlapping it. Now there may be other ways to do that. Within Lightburn, there's a lot of functionality. You may have been able to do something with another square around the date, maybe overlap that, overlaid it, but not show the box around the date. But I think this is the easiest way to do it. Okay, so there's one other thing that I want to do. I'm going to zoom back out, so I'll zoom to page. I don't like the thickness of this line. I want it to be a little thicker, especially when I go to engrave it, and I am engraving on slate. Sometimes very thin lines don't engrave well on slate. So I'd like this line to have a little bit of thickness to it. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool, which is selected now, and I'm going to select this. And then we are going to do an offset. So you see here, I've got this offset button. That comes up and it just says, how much do you want to offset that line by? So I'm going to go ahead and we will try 0.1 and see what that looks like. It made the line a bit thicker, not a lot. Let's try it again. Go back to my offset. Let's try it as 1 just to see what it looks like. I think that'll be too thick. Actually, that's not so bad. And you can see now, if I zoom in, that line has some thickness to it. So that's how I actually went and created what I showed you earlier. So hopefully that answers any questions. Lightburn, again, is a simple tool to use. Anything that you don't know, if you go on YouTube, you can type in what you're trying to do and you will find it. But this is giving me what I want, at least. It's giving me their name, the date, and then the box around it. I do see there's a bit of cleanup here to do because it did not do this line, but I can do an offset on that as well. So now we can go ahead and take a look at the one that I'd already created, but that at least gives you an idea of how I did it. So I'm going to go back to the one that I've already done. So now you can see it here, and this is ready to go to my laser. I've got it in 2 different layers. The box is one layer and the text is another. I've grouped them together so I can resize them. And again, this is ready to engrave. So we're going to do that next. So in previous videos, I've shown my laser engraver, but I haven't really gone over any details. So this is a slate material that I purchased. This will be my cheese board, charcuterie board, and the name that we showed earlier in Lightburn will be engraved in this lower right-hand corner. Off camera, I did a test burn so I would see what it would look like, and this is the final product here. And that way it gives me an idea just of how it looks, make sure I'm comfortable with it, because I don't have any test slate to do it on, so I wanted to make sure, and also make sure that I was pleased with the overall size and how it was going to fit on the board, on the slate. So the next thing I do is I use my focal length adjuster, and I've got a couple marks on it for different things. And on this one, I set it here at the top of this black mark, and that sets my laser focal length to my project. So I've got it connected up to the computer. It's ready to fire here now. And the next thing I'm going to do is I just push the frame button, and that will just show me where the laser is going to engrave that. So I can see now that that's not where I want. So I'm actually going to move it on the software because I don't think I can move the slate far enough to get where I want to be. So let's try that. See how that looks. So I can see with that frame that it just slightly went over the edge there, and I want to bring it down a bit as well. Try that again. Okay, up and over just a little bit. Try that again. Okay, I'm happy with where that's going to pass. So I'm going to go ahead and just set my settings on the computer for this, and then we'll go ahead and start the engraving. So in lightburn, you set the speed and the power that you want to use for the laser engraver. So for this, for slate, it goes a fairly slow speed and it goes maximum power. So I'm going to go 500 for the speed, which is millimeters per minute, and I'm setting the power at 100. I'll put my safety glasses on. So I'm going to go ahead now and start it. So there, the laser engraving has begun. I'm not going to record all of that. We'll come back after it's done and we'll take a look at it. So here it is on the slate. I do apologize. I'm not going to move it right now because I want to do 2 more passes on it. It turned out pretty good, but there's a few misses. Sometimes with the slate, I find that I have to give it a couple passes. Some of the text is just a little spotty. It's not too bad, but I'm going to give it 2 more passes. So as long as I don't move the slate, nothing else is moved, I can just run it again and it'll just go over the same material. So I'm going to do that, let it go 2 more passes, and then we'll come back at the end and take a look at that. The engraving is complete. I did 3 passes on it, actually 4 passes. 3 passes, then I cleaned it, and then I did another pass. Cleaning it without moving it so that I could just do another pass. The reason I do that is I don't have air assist. And sometimes what will happen if I zoom in here really close, it's a little out of focus, but you can see there's little tiny spots that are missing. And I think what they are is because it's natural stone, the engraving will kick up small little bits. And those little bits, if they're there when the engraver goes off of it, and then they come off later, then what was underneath them doesn't get engraved. So that's why after I do a pass, I'll brush it off just lightly and then do another pass. And that just helps fill in any of those spots. So now we're ready to take it in and spray with some lacquer. I did not put anything on this at all before I engraved it. I just engraved it on the natural stone. Okay, we'll let that dry and then we'll put another coat on. So here's the finished product. Again, a slate cheese or charcuterie board, engraved with the newly married couple's name on it. So I hope they have a great day tomorrow. And this is a small present for them. So this is 11 by 9 inches slate, which is about 1/4 inch thick. And it's been coated with 2 coats of spray lacquer, which is food safe and can just be washed off with water. So again, I do hope that Brandon and Tessa have a great day tomorrow and they enjoy this for many years to come.